Let's start with the back panel. Make a slip knot, then start with your foundation chain, which will have the length of your shoulder to shoulder measurement. Into the third chain, make a double crochet and repeat double crochet in every stitch. After the last double crochet of the row, chain 2 and then count as a double crochet. Turn and make again a row of double crochet. Skip the first stitch. On top of the second stitch, make a double crochet and repeat the double crochet in every stitch. And repeat rows of double crochet until you have your bottom to shoulder length. The width of the front panels will be half of the width of the back panel. Make the foundation chain for the first front panel, and remember that if you want a given number of double crochet at the end, you must make that number plus 1 of chains. I want 31 double crochet stitches at the end, so I will be making 32 chains for the foundation. Before proceeding with the front panel, you have to go back to the back panel and decide how wide you want the squares or rectangles to be. I'm going with this size. The rectangle, mine, stretches over 8 stitches and 4 rows. That means that I'm going to work 8 double crochets, then switch to my color number 2, work for 8 stitches, switch back to my first color, work for 8 stitches, 8 double crochets, then switch to the other color, and so on. And I will do that series of repetition on 4 rows. So keep in mind the number of stitches and number of rows that you decided your square or rectangle to be. Let's go back to the foundation chain. So skip the first 2 chains, 1, 2, into the third, make a double crochet, and of course those 2 chains skipped count as a double crochet. So right now it's like I have already 2 double crochets. I want 8 double crochets for my rectangle, so I'm going to add more double crochets. I already have 2. That's 3, 4, 7, and on the 8th, okay, I'm going to insert the hook, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2, and before finishing, when I have 2 loops on my hook, that's when I will introduce the second color. So drop the color number 1, grab your second color, your accent color, whatever you want to call it, then you close the double crochet with the new yarn, the new color yarn, right? So all right, now we are going to work with this new yarn. I'm going to carry the tail to hide it as we are going, and I'm also going to carry the first yarn. Okay, so those 2 that I want to carry, I'll place them in the front. Keep the yarn that I'm going to work with at the back. Okay, so yarn over and into the next chain, make a double crochet, yarn over and into the next chain, make a double crochet, still carrying the first color on the tail. Yarn over into the next stitch, I'm going to make another double crochet, and so on until I have my almost 8 double crochets. with the collar number 2. Again, pull up the yarn, on your last stitch, pull through the first 2. When you have the last 2 loops on the hook, you bring again the initial color, the color number 1. Drop this color number 2, bring back color number 1, and close the double crochet with that color. Now I'm going to work another 8 double crochets with color number 1. So I'm holding color number 1 and I'm going to carry color number 2 as I'm going, of course, also with the tail. So into the next chain, double crochet, and so on until I have my almost 8 stitches or 8 double crochets. This is my 8th stitch, my 8th double crochet. So I'm pulling up a loop, start the double crochet. I have the last 2 loops on the hook. I will drop color number 1, bring color number 2 to finish, and I have again 8 double crochets. Now repeat again the same thing. For me, I have only 7 chains left and I'm going to work double crochets into them. After the last double crochet, chain 2, and I'm going to work same color over same color. So I have my blue color, my color number 2. I'm going to start this row with color number 2. Again, I'll carry color number 1 with me as I'm going, yarn over. Into the next stitch, I will make my double crochet, and this side now becomes the wrong side because you see, carrying color number 1 on this row leaves this piece of yarn here. So I will make this side later the wrong side of my work. Likewise for you, work the same color over the same color until you are into the last stitch of this color. This is my stitch number 8, so the last of this series of color number 2. I'm going to pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on the hook, and now I drop color number 2, bring color number 1, and end this, yarn over, and I'm now going to carry this color. I hope you can follow the process. So the idea is to work same color over same color for the number of rows that you defined earlier. Mine are 4 rows. Again, I'm about to change the color. When I have 2 loops left on the hook, I will drop that color, bring the second color, and close, then continue. And now you have to change a little bit how you were carrying the yarn. Okay, remember previously for the previous row, when I turned and carried the yarn, it created this piece of color number 1 there. So I said I will make this side the wrong side of my cloth, and I have to stick to that, which means that now for this row I'm not going to carry my color number 2 like this, the way I was doing since the beginning. I'll rather carry it from the back so that all the pieces from carried yarn will stay on one side, which will make up the wrong side. So now, holding color number 2 from the back, I'm going to do my double crochets and make sure I'm carrying color number 2 with me as I am going. Time to switch to another color. So I have my 2 loops, I'm going to take my color, my new color. Following the same process, I will keep the carried yarn at the back and continue. So for this entire row, you keep your carried yarn at the back. And don't forget the last stitch, the 2 chains. And that's the end of row number 3 for me. Then chain 2, turn, and when you turn, you see that you are back on the wrong side. So you have to carry or to take your carried yarn on this side this time. Okay, so pay attention to where you hold the carried yarn as you're going. And for this entire row, I'm going to hold my carried yarn on this side. Alright, I'm almost at the end of row number 4, and remember, for me, I wanted to have 8 stitches and then 4 rows, to make up the square or the rectangle. So now that I'm on row 4, almost finished, I'm going to switch the colors. So pull up the loop with your yarn, the one that you're using, pull through the first loops, and then for the last 2 loops, you bring the color that we are going to use for the next row. For me, I'm going to switch to color number 2. So on top of the pink stitches, I'll make blue stitches. Then on top of the blue, I'm going to make pink ones. So I'm going to end this double crochet with my color number 2. Then chain 2 and turn. Again, pay attention to where you place the yarn that you are carrying. Okay, mine is going to be at the back because my wrong side is at the back. And then on top of my blue stitches, I'm going to make pink stitches. For this row, which is the first one of the new series of square, you are going to do the opposite of what is already there. So where you have the blue, you do the pink. Where you have the pink, you do blue. Where you have the blue, you do the pink, and so on until you end your row. Then you chain 2, keeping the same color at the end of the row. Chain 2, keeping the same color, then turn, and we are going to work same color over same color to create the new squares. I'm going to work same color over same color until I have the number of rows that I want my squares to have. I am almost done with my second round or second series of squares, as you can see. So once you are at this level, you have to switch the color again. And work color 1 over color 2 or color 2 over color number 1. So I'm starting again with 2 chains. Pay attention to where your carried yarn is placed. Then you work color number 1 over color number 2 and color number 2 over color number 1. You do that only for this first row of the third series or of any new series of square that you will start. After the first row of the series, then you start doing same color over same color until you have the shape of your square, and you switch the colors again, and it goes on like that until you have your desired length, which is the same number of rows, the length that you already did for the back panel. Now the next step is to sew the front and back panels together. First of all, make sure that your front panel is on the wrong side. Next thing that is important is we are going to sew only half of the front panel to the back panel. So if you have like 30 stitches here, then you sew only 15 stitches and you leave the rest out. For the sewing, I'm going to use single crochets, and I start by going through the first stitches of the back on the front panels, then reattach my yarn and make a single crochet through the first stitches of both panels, then make a single crochet into every stitch. So you go through the second stitch of the front panel, the second stitch of the back panel, single crochet, and you repeat the process across. And once you are halfway to the end of the front panel, you stop, cut your yarn and fasten off. And that is it for the sewing of the first panel. You are going to do the same thing for the second front panel as well. I'm going to turn the project like this so it will be easier for me to do the sewing. So again, going through the two panels, the first stitches of the two panels, then reattach the yarn, and as I'm going, I will carry the tails that are there. Again, when you are halfway to the end of your front panel, you cut your yarn and fasten off. Now we are going to work on the hood. Start by reattaching the yarn. I'm using my yarn number 1, the pink one. Reattach, then make 2 chains that count as a double crochet, and repeat a double crochet into every stitch. So make the double crochets around until you get to the other end. So you go around like this until you get to this end. Do a double crochet as well into the joining stitch where the sewing was previously done. Inside, make also a double crochet to avoid having a hole created there later. After the last double crochet, chain 2 to start the next row. Then you skip the very first stitch because the chain 2 already counts as a double crochet. Into the second stitch of the row, make a double crochet and repeat rows of double crochet until the hood is 30 centimeters long. I have my 30 centimeters for the hood, and now I'm ready to sew the top to close it. So this is the last stitch of your last row. Before starting the sewing process, chain 1, turn like this, and then insert the hook into that last stitch on top of the last stitch. Go and get the last stitch at the beginning or the first stitch of the row, then make a single crochet, and of course make sure you are on the wrong side. Okay, so you have to be on the wrong side to do the sewing. Then into the next stitch, also the next stitch of the other end, so you go through the 2 stitches, single crochet, repeat the process. You go through 1 stitch on one side, 1 stitch on the other side, single crochet. So you make single crochet for the sewing. Alright, that is it for the hood. You can cut and fasten off. For the sleeves, take a loose measurement around your arm, and that gives you the length of the foundation chain. Into the third chain, make a double crochet and repeat 1 double crochet in each chain. And then repeat rows of double crochets until you are 5 centimeters away from the total arm length. These 5 centimeters will later be covered by the cuff. At this point, my sleeve is 44 centimeters long and 33 centimeters wide. Now the first step in the making of the cuff is going to be a row of decrease. Start by chaining 1. That's just a turning chain, it doesn't count as a stitch. So on top of the very first stitch, start a single crochet. You have 2 loops. You go to the next stitch, insert the hook, pull up a loop. You have now 3 loops on your hook. Pull through the 3. That's a reduction or a decrease. Move to the next stitch. There we will do a normal single crochet, and it's time to do another decrease. So insert the hook, pull up a loop. Into the next stitch, insert the hook, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops. Pull through the 3 loops, then you make a decrease. The next is going to be a normal single crochet, and again a decrease, then a normal single crochet, then a decrease. So you alternate between normal single crochets and decrease. You can adjust this to your need. If for example you want a smaller cuff, then you could make only decreases without normal single crochets. This is the end of the first row. Then chain 2 to start a new row, and they count as a double crochet, so we skip the very first stitch, move to the second, then make a double crochet and repeat double crochets across. End of this row. To start the next one, chain 2, they count as a double crochet, turn, and we will make front and back post. So consider the next stitch, the second stitch of the row, insert the hook from the back, push the stitch towards yourself, and then make a double crochet. That's the front post. For the back post, insert the hook in a way that you push the stitch to the back, then double crochet. Let's do it together once more. Yarn over. For the front post, insert the hook from the back like this, double crochet. For the back post, you insert the hook in a way that the stitch is pushed toward the back, then double crochet. Repeat the process front and back post until you get to the last stitch. And on top of the last stitch, we are going to make a double crochet. And that ends this row. To start the next one, chain 2, they count as a double crochet. Then we are going to repeat almost the same process. For this row, the rule is going to be where it looks like a back post, do a back post. Where it looks like a front post, do a front post. For example, for me, my next stitch is looking like a back post, so I'm going to do a back post. And the next stitch is toward myself, is on the front side, so it's a front post. So you follow that. Where it looks like a back post, do a back post. Where it looks like a front post, do a front post. And the last stitch is going to be a double crochet. Now I'll do one last row of front and back post. You decide whether you want more rows depending on the length that you want for your cuff. And of course, the rule remains the same. Where it looks like a front post, make a front post. Where it looks like a back post, make a back post. And that is it for the first sleeve. Repeat the same process to make your second sleeve. Now it's time to sew the sleeves. Make sure you are on the wrong side. Then turn and open the sweater on the side and place the sleeve. Make sure you place it in a way that you have the same number of stitches on both panels, so the stitches should be equally distributed. Now proceed with the sewing. So you go through the back panel, then the first stitch of the sleeve, reattach the yarn, then do the sewing with single crochets. Once you are done with the first sleeve, repeat the same process for the second sleeve. The next step now is to sew the sides together, so from the cuff along the arm till armpit, then you continue down till the bottom of the hoodie. Make sure that you are on the wrong side of the hoodie before starting the sewing. Once you are done with the first sleeve, then do the same thing for the second one. The next step now is to do the ribbing at the bottom of the hoodie, and the process is the same as what we did for the cuff. So you start with a row of decrease, then a row of double crochet, and then you do front and back post double crochets. Now that I'm done with the ribbon, I will place the zipper. The color match between my zipper and the hoodie is not the best, but yeah, that's what I have. The hoodie is still wrong side out. Now I'm going to place the zipper also, let's say, wrong side out. So you have this side where you can open the zipper from. So I'm going to place this facing down, so it means the wrong side is out. For the sewing, I will be using a needle and a thread. I will start by turning my project like this, then first through the very bottom of the zipper, then through the edge, then once again through the zipper and the edge again. I'm not very good at sewing, but I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going through the zipper, then the yarn, pull the thread through, again zipper, yarn, and I'll do this until I get to the upper part of the zipper. Once I go through the zipper, I then walk into the row before the last row. So I'm not walking into the very last stitch, but into the second stitch of my panel. I'm ending the sewing here where the head of the zipper is. This is going to be my last sewing point. Then I will make a knot and secure it properly. Same thing for the second side of the zipper. Go through the zipper first, then through the panel, and do the sewing the way we did for the other side. I am also going to cut the excess part of the zipper. It is not the nicest sewing, but it's okay. I hope you liked the tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.